Sapura Energy's units have secured several jobs in Malaysia and Mexico with a combined value of some 1.75 billion ringgit. One of the contracts is a 5-year job to provide Pan-Malaysia underwater services for petroleum arrangement contractors. It was awarded to Sapura Subsea Services by Sarawak Shell and Sabah Shell Petroleum Company, Murphy Sarawak and Murphy Sabah Oil Co., Repsol Oil and Gas Malaysia, and Kebabangan Petroleum Operating Company. The works are expected to be completed by the third quarter of 2023. Meanwhile, Sapura Energy's Mexico unit has been awarded 2 jobs. The first is from Kota Energy to undertake engineering, procurement, construction, transportation and installation in the Kota field development in the Gulf of Mexico. The works are expected to be completed by the end of the first quarter of 2020. The second is a contract from Eni Mexico for similar works in offshore Block Area 1, also in the Gulf of Mexico. The works are slated to be completed by the second quarter of 2019. The contracts are expected to contribute positively to the group's earnings for the financial year ending January 31st, 2019 and the financial periods thereafter. Putrajaya has given approval to AirAsia to operate flights from Kota Kinabalu to Sibu and Bintulu. Transport Minister Anthony Loke says the Cabinet approved last week to take out these 2 sectors from the Rural Air Services Agreement. He adds that this should save the government some 20 to 30 million ringgit from the 230 million ringgit allocated for subsidies under the RAS agreement in 2020. Under the agreement, the government subsidized Mars Wings to operate rural flights, including routes from Kota Kinabalu to Sibu and Bintulu. Group CEO Tan Sri Tony Fernandez says the budget carrier has been trying to secure these routes for 9 years, the longest time it has ever spent applying for routes. Separately, Loke calls on the Malaysian Aviation Commission not to over-regulate commercial airlines. He says if there are any airlines that want to increase the frequency of their flights, the government's role should be to facilitate that. Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Deputy Minister Chong Cheng Jen says the Kedai Rakyat One Malaysia program will not focus on selling cheap products after its rebranding exercise. Noting feedback on the substandard quality of the products previously offered, he says the new CRIM will provide reasonably priced products under their own brands. Under the first CRIM, the government injected some 300 million ringgit into the program to produce its own products under its own brand. However, all 185 outlets were shuttered last October as they were too costly for the government to maintain. The Barisan Nasional government then rebranded the program as CRIM 2.0 in February. However, Pakatan Harapan says it still needs a complete revamp. Under its initiative, the government will now play the role as negotiator with strategic partners or retailers to get goods as cheap as possible from suppliers. This means the product's prices will be determined by market forces. Sime Darby saw first quarter FY19 earnings plummet by 83% to 225 million ringgit, due largely to the absence of profit from discontinued operations. It also saw lower profit from its heavy equipment business as well as automotive dealership operations. However, net profit for its continuing operations improved by 38% on the back of a 9% increase in revenue to 8.85 billion ringgit. Group CEO Dato Jeffrey Salim Davidson says the group's operational results have been very encouraging. The activity in mining and construction sectors in Australia remains strong. Meanwhile, its order book looks good and demand is high for equipment deliveries, parts and services from key customers. Looking ahead, Sime Darby's board expects its FY19 performance to be satisfactory against the backdrop of uncertainty in the growth prospects of the global economy. MAHB's net profit jumped by 108% to 168.49 million ringgit in the third quarter of 2018. This was thanks to higher passenger traffic for Malaysia and the growth momentum in Turkey. The airport's operators' revenue inched up by 1.5% to 1.23 billion ringgit. Its Malaysia operations recorded a 2% passenger growth to 25 million passengers versus 24.5 million passengers a year ago. Meanwhile, passenger traffic in its Turkey operations rose by 7.8% to 9.7 million passengers versus 9 million passengers a year ago. On prospects, MAHB says its FY18 fiscal performance should be better than the previous years on the back of relatively moderate growth in passenger traffic for Malaysia. MAHB also expects the growth momentum to hold in Turkey.